Welcome, everyone, to the I'm Not Dumb But podcast. I'm your host for today, Victor, joined always by Rob.
Hello.
Chris.
Yep.
And Caesar.
Yep.
So who do we got? We got another guest, right? Is this Chris's replacement? Who's it?
Wait, why am I getting replaced every episode?
Actually, Chris, I want to let you know these interviews are for positions on the podcast.
We're actually interviewing. Tell me, guys, how often do you guys talk about politics?
All the time.
Never
for me.
Why is that? Is it too heated, or are you just out of the loop?
It just seems it's so radicalized now, and when it just goes one direction or the other, and you never really get an answer. You never have a place to talk about it, and it's better to just avoid it, or just sit behind your screen and start typing ideas.
For me, it's like I just don't want to say the wrong thing, just to tell my opinion or my thoughts, and then piss someone off, and then you know what I mean, and then that person just goes off for no reason.
Try having right opinions then.
Exactly, Chris.
To be honest, it's all like I don't talk about it because like I'm very logical and think the way I think. And if things are black and white, well, then I'm always going to cite a reason, right? But we've gotten to the point where there is no reason at all. Absolutely none. So it hurts my head to even like, why am I wasting my time talking to you when literally you're going to hear me one ear out the other?
Well, today, our guest, Thomas More, is attempting to solve this issue. He is the founder of PoliTorium, a new app that wants to fix how we view, debate, and discourse. And to help us answer the question, I'm not dumb, but how do you talk about politics?
Welcome to the I'm Not Dumb But podcast, where we won't claim to have the answers to life's deepest questions,
but we'll give you an exciting journey
into the realms of knowledge you never knew you needed.
Might be mainstream,
but not common knowledge. From artificial intelligence to conspiracy theories, no topic is too taboo for us to explore. Let's get curious together.
Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us. So you are the founder and creator of PoliTorium.
That's correct. Yep.
What is PoliTorium?
It's a social platform for respectful discourse. So a place, where you can expect like not to be trolled, and like a place like where people just want to kind of have a real conversation, whether it's like social or political. Yeah, just somewhere people can go to get out of the polarization that's in politics in America. But
polarization? This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Like the bear?
Polar vortex?
Yeah, it's a new thing. No, it's a big problem right now. I started building it 2 years ago. So I had the original, like the idea for it, which honestly I think tons of people have had the idea for it. And the fact that nobody's really made it yet is baffling to me, but because everybody knows it's a problem. Everybody knows, like we all need a place to have a real conversation. The whole like X and Facebook and Reddit, all of them have political biases.
Well, yeah, we've all had like those family gatherings, holiday gatherings where everyone's at each other's throats.
Yeah, and so here's the big picture, honestly, is I feel like the internet has damaged the way we communicate with each other. So I want to build PoliTorium as a place to kind of start like mending that, that wound of how everybody's like just so divided, and the way that we talk to each other, like just in general. Get communication kind of more on a respectful scale, like people talk on the internet like in ways that they would never talk, know, in person, obviously.
Oh yeah,
because you're anonymous. See, I mean, technically you can hide behind a username, and then no one really knows who you are or what you're saying.
Right. And people can remain anonymous on PoliTorium. The idea, though, is to encourage you being you. I mean, there's so many like different features that encourage you to be who you actually are. We have like identification verification system, which comes with like perks of being able to create petitions and everything like that. But the big picture is basically fixing how we speak to each other, but also kind of bringing the people back together, whether you're on the left or the right or whatever side. Because as long as polarization exists, the power exists in the hands of the politicians, not the people.
Right.
Because if we can't be on the same page, then we can never really make actual change together.
the app, like, how would it be laid out? It would fact check things, or because right now, would we have moderators? How do we even fact check things?
Community notes.
Community notes. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Community notes has certainly become the thing that everybody's kind of switching to, because fact checkers just come with political bias. And I mean, community notes do too. But I guess community notes, people can community note a community note, you know, and everybody can just sit there and like provide facts for whatever. So PoliTorium is kind of the sequence that makes PoliTorium work. It's a group of features, functions, and philosophies. It all starts with fostering respectful political discourse. People have to want a place to be respectful. They have to want a place to have serious conversations and really talk to one another, and leaving all the baggage at the doors. But I mean, without them wanting it to begin with, and the whole thing doesn't even make sense. It's useless. So that's the first step, is showing people that it's possible to have real, I don't want to say like intelligent, but intelligent conversations with one another without just always being at each other's throats. And the second step, so all of like X, for example, or Facebook, they all want you to doom scroll because then they make ad revenue, right? So what they show you is things that you want to see, things you agree with, and it creates an echo chamber, right? Always showing you the things that are on your side, the opinions you already have. So the suggested feed is an AI algorithm that my team's made that basically, it's not going to just constantly show you things that you hate, but it's going to show you points of view that are different from your own, that get you to engage with the other side. So kind of just opening up channels of communication through like a suggested feed that is a lot different from every other social platform suggested feed. We don't care if you doom scroll. Like at the end of the day, if you sign off of the app, then you sign off the app. We want you to be open-minded. Mm-hmm. So then the third step, the reputation system, it really helps with two things. It encourages quality content, and it also shows people like who the trolls are. If somebody has like negative 16,000 reputation, then it makes people be like, I'm not even gonna get hooked on your troll. So basically the reputation system, anywhere a user's content is, whether it's a post or a petition or a comment even, the users carry it across the entire platform. So every single place you see a user, you'll know the type of content they create and, you know, whether or not they're a troll. It really helps people kind of like save time. Like, don't engage with that.
And would that include things like bots that are just like posting randomly to just
well, the reputation all comes from all. It's literally, I guess you could say, as simple as Reddit's karma system, right? It's just the sum, the average of likes and dislikes that a person gets across all content, whether it's, you know, comments or whatever. So it's essentially karma. We're just using it in a different way. We're using it as like, you're going to see it you don't have to go to the user's profile to see their reputation. It is on every single place that they post any content that they create. They're going to carry it across the whole platform. And the fourth step, we use an AI algorithm that detects tone and phrase detection, you know, like condescending remarks, like constantly just anything that a person says on one side. It's always met with sarcasm and a condescending tone, always, you know, just putting each other down constantly. And the AI tone and phrase detection will keep people respectful and open, I guess you could say, like, keeping people real, legitimate, just not talking down to one another.
Like a check and balance to there, like, hey, you're sounding a bit passive aggressive there.
Exactly. Because it's one of the things that, you know, like, even if you're not using like slurs or cussing at somebody or whatever, right. You know, like if you're not straight up being like rude, you're still being rude. You know, you're still like just with sarcasm and just being condescending to each other. But so step 5, incentivizing ID verification. Instead of like on X, you know, you pay $16 or whatever it is for a blue check mark. It doesn't verify who a user is or anything like that. It's just like, hey, you're I don't even know if they call it verified anymore. I guess it's just like this is a premium user.
It's
So our ID verification, it just uses an API system that we work with another company that they just scan their ID and then take a selfie, and it proves whether or not they are who, you know, their profile is. And this all comes so there's local, home, just who you follow, and then suggested. And in the local feed, the objective is to get people to build a reputation in their local community as, just through their political views, and hopefully remove the gate guards, the 30-year city council members that they just win every year because they win every year. Or every election.
A lot of them, I think, are just unopposed as well.
Yeah,
exactly. And just encourage people to get involved in their local politics, because like change seriously does start locally.
Yeah,
federal, like presidential politics, obviously it affects all of us, but local politics is where you live.
That's just so far removed, though. I think like just federal government and of that high caliber is just so far removed from what impacts your life daily.
Yeah, right.
But it gets so much of your focus because, like, I think I remember one time I tried looking up. It was like election year. It was like a midterm year. It wasn't even like a big year, and I just wanted to see who was running in my local government. I found their names, but that's about it. I knew nothing about them.
There is no information on their platform.
There is no information.
You don't know what they believe, what they stand for.
Nothing.
What are they going to do?
I know they're Democrat and Republican.
Right. So that's a whole part of the local aspect as well, is every user, based on their zip code, if they allow approximate location, being turned on, then they'll be able to see, the leadership of their whole community, basically, just on a list.
That's awesome.
But the real objective of the local section, which honestly, to me, the local section is like maybe the most important feature of the app, because it's encouraging people to build a reputation in their local communities, and then make change, be part of the change. So the ID verification it's a huge aspect, because we want to encourage less anonymous accounts. Like, you're obviously allowed to make an anonymous account. Not everybody's even allowed to express their views, which is something, maybe we can address later. But if you have a job and then you're expressing some views that you have, you end up getting fired. So you have no choice but to be anonymous. That's something that we also hope to work on. Like, everybody should be free to express how they feel and what they think. And then step 6, though, is the transparency infraction board. So the idea of this is every social media company, my wife, for example, she was banned off of Facebook with no explanation and no appeal, right? Yeah. Lost everything of like a 15-year Facebook account, all of the pictures she ever uploaded, just all that stuff, right? And because the whole thing is done through just, AI, and there's no humans involved, really.
Also, it's not like a standardized like penalty system there. It's not divvied out evenly. Like, if someone can get away with something that your wife could be punished for, and vice versa.
Absolutely. So the idea of the transparency is it's a public board where everybody can see every ban, mute, whatever infraction somebody got. Everybody can see the infraction, what the crime was, and who the moderator was that issued the infraction. And this is something that I think will really, really hold moderators accountable, because they can't have political biases if they're completely public. They'll just be removed. So the infraction system works through a hybrid, system of AI and human. Basically, it'll always, at the end of the day, it'll always be a human that makes the decision of whether or not somebody violated. What the most important aspect of PoliTorium is the community ethos, all working together to have this one place, where we can just leave all the baggage at the door and just really talk.
So, like, how do you regulate the reputation, like step 3 is reputation part? Like, what if someone says something and it just gets downvoted into oblivion? Is that going to negatively impact them, or people are just going to see this person as, they might have even said something that wasn't even that bad?
Yeah, well, so just like the appeal system with people voting yes or no on content that got infractions, it's gonna be the exact same learning process and learning curve. The whole thing is going to be kind of a living thing that is going to grow throughout time, because it's gonna take time to foster this sense of respectful discourse and trying to just have a real place. And there will be a lot of people that love Trump and hate everything else in the whole world, so they downvote it, or vice versa. Or, they just hate Trump more than anything, so they downvote anything dealing with him. In the sense of regulating it, what I don't want to do is, limit people's reach or like stifle anybody. I want the whole system to be based on encouragement and changing, like I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, changing the way that we communicate with one another, and like these like torn apart feelings that we have about, political conversation and social conversation, and making people just want this place, and it will take time. It will take time to grow into, there will be people that come and they troll, or they just do you guys cuss on this podcast?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, okay. They just shit talk everything.
Oh, you can't say that.
My kid.
I thought you were going to say something else, but
yeah, they just bash content real hard, and then they end up like getting muted, banned, whatever, and then they leave and they don't come back, and maybe in a year they come back and they're a little bit better and a little bit better. It will take some people. Some people want this straight away and they want it to work right now. And some people, it will take time.
I think a huge issue with, at least with polarization and the way people have or try to have discourse around political topics, is that people have different set of facts. I can go and say, I read a Pew Research study saying yada, yada, yada. And then you can just look at me and say, that's fake. This guy's on the take, George Soros, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
That's not true. And then it's like, now we're in a place where, well, we can't even agree on what's real and what's not real. How are we supposed to have a conversation then about political topics?
Right. Yeah. The whole polarization thing, what I think deeply is it all stems from our election process. It all stems from to get elected to begin with, you need to start creating some divide. You need people to hate the other side. There's no middle. That's why we're a two-party system, because there has to be this polarization and this divide. We went from pretty respectful. Like if you look back and watch like the JFK debates and stuff like that, they sat in chairs and it wasn't all smear. It was, here's the good things I'll do. And now it's just like, here's this terrible person, my opponent did all of these terrible things and they're worthless and everything. In my opinion, one of the biggest things that I advocate for, and that I'll probably forever try to spread at least awareness on, is ranked choice voting, which is it's the exact same thing as democracy and everything. It's just picking it's just basically picking a second and third place, so people can stop with the whole oh, you're wasting your vote. The whole idea of, if you vote for this independent, you wasted your vote, or it's a vote for that guy. It's so un-American. It's insane. It's not how democracy is supposed to work.
I think for a time, didn't the loser become vice president?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
For a very short time, that was like that.
But then what it became, and see, I've thought this too. It's like, why don't we just do that? But then I guess it becomes the same thing where the vice president or the president or whoever is super on their own side and polarized by their own side. So it becomes just a stalemate. Basically, nothing happens because everything the president wants to do, the vice president gets in the way in the Senate. So I've thought the same thing, that would really help with polarization. I guess people just can't be mature about it, and just try to work together. But the system of ranked choice voting, which is, something you can YouTube, and there's some real good minute 30 videos that really explain what ranked choice voting is. And I firmly believe that it would almost entirely remove polarization from our election process, and, thus leading into actual politics, because everybody running for president, they rely on those second and third place votes, in order to win. So you got to stop trying to just create two sides. You need that middle.
Kind of fundamentally against democracy. You have the right to choose, but you can only choose two sides.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There's no middle.
Baskin Robbins choosing two flavors: chocolate or vanilla.
Yep.
Enjoy your ice cream.
Chocolate.
Enjoy your democracy.
Yep.
You're still in beta testing, right? What's one of the surprising things that has come out I know your user base you want it to be more rational while they're, doing their discourse. But when emotion comes into play, things can get out of hand, right? So what is one of the most surprising things based on your current member base?
Surprising how? Like how people have...
You're implementing these 6 steps, and you're like, I thought this was going to go a completely different way. I have this member base. I'm trying to get them to be respectful of each other, but something seems to be awry. So
PoliTorium's actually 2 years old. So I built it by myself, and I'm not a developer, so I just had to kind of, start teaching myself basically. So before I had my current team, which built the current version that we're going into beta for, I built it myself and launched it. And it was, we've had a lot of press coverage, whole bunch, like Business Insider and everything, during like the me era of building. And so, we had I wouldn't call it large, but 3,500 user base on the previous version. And there was nothing but surprise. It was certain things that worked really, really well, and certain things that really, really didn't work well. Some of the things that I guess I would say were a surprise that they worked was the reputation. You could see an actual, if you look at the analytics and demographics of the way that people are, the content that people are creating, once they're really, it's like people really take to heart the likes and dislikes. The whole, they really don't want to, I guess, be the loser. I don't know how else you could say that. They don't want to be the person that nobody wants to talk to. You could see whenever their reputation's in decline, they start really, working a little harder to make better content, to they pull back with the emotional attacks. And that was, that was what I was hoping for and somewhat expected, but at the scale that it worked, I guess it worked, really, really well because they have to carry that everywhere they go on the app.
It's almost gamified in a sense. You're trying to get the highest score so you look the best.
Right. Yeah. And it all, the encouragement that comes with for quality content is great. It's a really great thing. And when you combine things like the ID verification, so that you are who you say you are and everything, and the reputation system, people can really, really begin creating a name for themselves. And while you can do that everywhere, you could do that on X and Facebook, but then what do you do beyond that? I guess you start selling courses or something like that, selling a book or something. I don't know. But that's exactly why we have, the local feed to possibly make a change. Speak out in your community with your now good reputation, large following, talk to your community directly.
So you said PoliTorium it's 2 years old now? 2 or 3 years old now?
Right. 2 years.
So in the early stages, do you have avenues for feedback? How did you get feedback from users to be all right, let me go ahead and maybe change this or tweak this, or this is not working well, or this is working great?
Right. Yeah. There was kind of what you would expect in most apps. There was every periodically users would have a modal pop-up saying, how are you enjoying PoliTorium and everything, and then a feedback system. But then also that feedback system is accessible at all times, basically. So my version of the app was very, I guess, low quality. I'm not a developer, So what I did was I put a feedback button on every single page along with a bug button. So I could get as much feedback and warnings, and this doesn't work. And this process took 4 years actually, because the whole thought of all of this came during the 2020 election, where I kept on hearing it too, where it was there's just no place to have a real conversation. Everywhere you go, it's just a divide.
With ID verification, in a world that we live in now where everyone loses my social security number, how do you guys take that? Do you guys do it internally, or do you send it to a third party? And how is my information being used to verify who I am?
So user sensitive information, anything from names to your location or anything like that, is entirely protected and never sold. So the only type of data that PoliTorium sells is behavioral data. How long somebody was on a page for, what did they click, things like that. Just analytic behavioral data, but absolutely no sensitive data at all. And the ID verification system is done through an API for a third party. So, you scan it, it automatically sends to them and verifies, via a selfie of yourself as well. The same way you would verify, like if you were trying to drive for Uber, you would scan your ID and you would take a selfie to reflect that you are the same person. And it's all, AI based and everything. But yeah, that was a hard and fast rule for PoliTorium since the very beginning. A lot of these things that these other social platforms like Facebook, they had to go before Congress because they were selling everybody's data. They pretty much hold your First Amendment rights in their hands. They decide, what you get to say. And same with every other social platform, That's one of those things where you're like, oh, well, it's a company, they make the rules. And that is true. And, so our rules since the beginning and moving forward forever are going to be rules that, support the user's privacy and rights always. And as we grow and learn, and there's things that, we see we could be doing better, then that's what we'll do. But something like data is, absolutely protected.
Is this your first venture? Like, did you always want to be an entrepreneur or get into something like this?
No, not at all.
No?
No. I'm a lifelong musician, so that was always what I wanted to do was,
What do you play?
I play just string instruments, like guitar primarily, but I've been a bassist in bands and play some ukulele and everything, But yeah, so that was what I always, like I'm a singer songwriter, so that was always my thing. And I got had a problem with drugs, so ended up living in a halfway house. I got, after spending a year there, super just fed up with this, redundant, repetitive going to meetings and doing drug tests. And so I joined the Army. So from the Army, I guess I got not political, but my eyes more opened up to kind of the importance of politics, I guess you could say. Like I don't even talk politics. I run a political discourse platform, but I want to talk political discourse. I don't want to talk politics. I want to talk like how we can fix our engagement and communication. Like I can't change anything with politics. Me picking a side and just shitting all over somebody on Twitter is not helping nothing, so that's not what I want to do.
You built your own in the beginning. At what point you're like, I need to take it up to the next level and get like your team or your developers in?
I was definitely thinking it the entire time. From the start, I was like, because I'm not a developer, I'm not a coder, nothing like that, So I tried so many different avenues of like, how can I do this? And this was like before you could just tell AI, like, because this was 2 years ago. So I guess those AI app builders probably were out there, but they weren't real mainstream, and I didn't know about them. And they probably sucked as well because they're only okay right now anyway.
They're like cookie cutter. They're just like, you can do this or this, and that's it.
Yeah, you can't be real specific with it.
Right.
And it's also like if you use like bolt.new, it's super expensive, like because you run out of all the currency that they, the tokens or whatever, super quick, just trying to make a change on a button or something. But yeah, so I learned like low code, like Bubble, Adalo. So like no code with a little bit of code, I guess, and with the code, I just use ChatGPT. I don't know what a single thing means with code, but yeah, so.
Neither do most coders.
Yeah,
if it's working, don't touch it.
Yeah, so it was a very, I wouldn't even call it generic. I'd call it almost like childish. It was what it was. It definitely wasn't what we're about to release right now. My lead developer is I think 10 or 12 year full stack developer, and yeah, I mean it's like if you compare mine and his, it's, 9 and day. But so I just randomly actually saw him make a post on Reddit that was like, I've sold 3 companies. I'm looking for something that I can just actually sink my teeth into. I'm not looking to build an exit. I want to build something. So, and his post was removed because this was in like r/startups, and they like delete they just delete everybody's, anything you post. It gets deleted. It's crazy. The rules that they have is nuts. But so I managed to actually catch him like right before it was deleted. And I sent him a big thing about PoliTorium. And then he's just like, dude, this is it. Like, let's build this. So he's
awesome.
he's rebuilt it.
Cool.
Yeah, it was all like so like the stars aligned. The fact that like his post was even deleted like a couple minutes later, and I would never would have saw it, never would have met him.
So if I can just ask the big Shark Tank question, how do you guys make your revenue?
Currently, as we go into beta, so whenever I was solopreneur doing it, it was just like ad mob basically, and like Stripe subscription that comes with additional features, the standard, like kind of like X revenue model, I guess. Yeah. Obviously there will be a whole premium section. In the beta, everything will be available because we want everything to be tested to, find bugs and everything. But so once we actually launch the 1.0, there will be a subscription, for premium that comes with a set amount of features, which we've got all worked out and everything. Different tiers actually of premium. So, really, really cheap. And we're considering a sort of, we're going to see how it goes with like the community and how much everybody wants to kind of, I guess, play along to make this work. If it does go well at the start, then we're going to do a kind of like pay it forward sort of thing where, if you can afford, get this tier and you'll get all of it and it will pay for the guy that, and so basically you can get premium even if you can't afford it basically. Okay. And we just kind of help each other.
That sounded a little bit like Twitch's like sub model. If you like, you can gift like a subscription to someone else kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Say somebody's just starting to try to really build their reputation and everything, but they're like, well, I can't even access these features. And I can't afford it because I'm trying to focus on this, like making content and everything, but I'm not getting paid yet.
Yeah.
There's I don't want people to run into a problem like that. If you like your heart's in it and you really want to access like petitions because you want to make change, I don't want to stop you from doing that. I want you to be able to do that. So that's the whole thing, is figuring out obviously we are a company and we have to make money, right. But figuring out the best way for users to have full access to the world, to every feature and function that we offer. Another model, of course, is the same exact thing as X, like the revenue split for subscribers. So we'll host subscribers, content, videos, everything like that. And there will be, so you can subscribe to a specific person, the exact same thing as X basically. And then there's a revenue split between the content creator and us.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because a lot of businesses now are going toward that like triple bottom line for like sustainable business. You're trying to make that financial bottom line, but you're also trying to meet that societal bottom line, which is what you're doing, and then some will go into that economic bottom line. But you made a good point, is like, how about those guys who maybe can't get in the game or aren't allowed to? Because you don't want a certain amount of people just kind of running the show there. Yeah.
Rob, I feel like you just wanted to use those big MBA words.
Yeah. Well, I paid $2,500 for it, so.
I want to also note that in our bylaws, and this is something that will probably like make it very difficult for us to get venture capital, but at the end of the day, I'm like retired from the Army due to injuries, so I have like a decent enough nest egg to be able to help my team, help myself, and everything. So if this specific fact that I'm about to note makes it difficult for venture capital, then we kind of just deal with it. But in our bylaws, states always, maintaining the platform to be best for the users, however that might be possible. It's a whole, paragraph of our always respecting our ethos, and that's what always comes first. Instead of the shareholders' bottom dollar is the most important fact, or they sue you, so that's like stated, the very first thing in our bylaws is, giving the users the best possible experience, whether that's like financial and saving them money, or that's, the best content. So say venture capital gets involved and they're like, hey, if we start just showing them a whole bunch, like they want us to create an echo chamber because then there's more ad revenue. So that's firmly and strictly stated in our bylaws that is not going to happen.
So from the inception until now, so what are the strategies that you're using to gain new users or to grow that following?
Right.
Are you like partnering with other institutions, educational institutions, or?
So, social media, it's a difficult thing because there's no users without content and there's no content without users, right? So it's like a chicken and egg thing. So our primary marketing strategy, when I was doing it just myself, it was all paid advertisement, basically. Which digging into what the statistics and everything are for paid advertisement, it's like 8% of ads get clicked, and then like 1 or 2% even use your call to action, what you're wanting them to do, and then it's just like breaks down to like almost nobody, So we actually have he's not our like CMO, like our marketing officer or anything, but we have an advisor, a guy that's been in marketing for like 30 years, real tech savvy, he knows what the modern way to do things are. And one of the avenues that we think is most important is like the whole like peso, paid, earned, shared, owned, really using other social platforms, just being overly active on Substack and X and just really, really putting the word out there. And then of course there's going to be, incentives for inviting new users, like sharing our content onto X, things like that. So basically the peso model of marketing is that's our strong approach, with the paid being probably the least amount of effort put in.
Do you feel that people in general have kind of stopped pushing for a goal of making society better? Like, for example, I see a lot of people now, and I run into this with a few friends of mine, and it's everything that federal government is terrible, they should disappear and not exist anymore. And it's not even a conversation of let's fix things. It's just, let's just burn it all to the ground.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Do you feel that like that's where like communities are kind of set now, or it's just like, well, screw making things better, we just want everything to disappear?
Yeah. I would say no matter who the president is or what party is the controlling party, the other side wants to see it go, and then some of the own side, like in the current situation where we're in right now, a lot of the right, they want to see, that the government kind of get torn apart. And I'm not like against budget cutting, but I'm for everything, like from top to bottom should be audited. We should, be able to pass audits and everything. But I do think it's a kind of outlandish thing to just jump in and like first thing we do is, start slashing people. Me personally, I don't, I have to remain like nonpartisan, apolitical, because like just my company, it would be insane for me to support one side or the other. It would like it would become an echo chamber. It'd be like, well, I'm not using that guy's platform. Like he's a Democrat or he's a Republican. So for me personally, I do have my own views, but I don't even talk politics. Like I said, I talk political discourse and communication and how we can fix things. Like you're saying, like people want to just like see it all burn. I think that's crazy. I think that we live in the greatest country, and to just like see so many people like hate our country kind of on both sides, it kind of pains me to see that. I think if we just worked together, then we could have an amazing place.
Yeah, there's definitely a need for that. I was at dinner yesterday with my wife, and we're sitting there at this nice steakhouse, having like a $70 steak or whatever it is.
Thanks for the invite. Yeah,
well, I wasn't gonna invite you, but it was funny because I'm hearing this table over from me, and they're getting ready, and the lady's like, "Yeah, and did you hear what Trump said about? I just don't understand what he said about Ukraine or whatever, right?" And the guy puts his jacket on and in the middle of the restaurant goes, "Well, let me just answer that for you. Ukraine is the most corrupt country in the world." And I was like, everyone just turned around and looked up, and I was like, so this is where we're getting our news from, like restaurants, like, but people have these questions and they're only going to ask their friends or their groups. They're not going to be able to get the full story. If that's the answer they're going to get. I'm not saying it's right or wrong or whatever it is, but that's where they're getting, reinforced ideas from.
Yeah.
So it's like you need this place where people can say, well, in a respectful way, which that's going to be, like defining respectful dialogue is going to be tough, because I think initially you're going to get people just used to using other social platforms and ranting, right? And then you don't want to just completely kill them, because you need to retrain them. And that's essentially what you're doing, which, that's great.
Yeah. You don't see other points of view. And if you do, it's always in argument. Nobody's changing each other's mind by like calling them an idiot, like without just like putting all your cards on the table and expressing why you really feel a certain way. Like if you're just insulting them, calling them stupid for whatever ideas they have, or even being condescending, like just shouting that out in a restaurant, that's not changing anybody's mind. It's not making anybody go, well, I guess I'm a Trump supporter. Nobody's doing that, but if you... He
said it louder, of course.
Yeah. He's just screamed at me this opinion. Say instead he posted that as like a post with his opinion on why he thinks that. And then he ends up having some back and forths in the comments with people, and, maybe not even change your mind, but have all the facts or other points of view, other perspectives. And I think that's the most important part, is like, we're not getting other perspectives. And if we do, it's just an argument.
It's similar to fandom in sports, where a lot of people they stick to one team, and no matter what you tell them, no matter what the facts are, it doesn't matter to them. And similarly, I see people all the time, either whichever side you decide to be on, either Republican or Democrats. I'm only a Democrat. I'm only going to think Democrat, And in my head, I'm like, why? Why does it have to be one?
Vote blue no matter who, or vote red until you're dead. It's like, why don't you vote based on policy?
It's like, again, when you're dealing with like fans of any sports team, right? They get so emotional, and it's all about the emotion, and that emotion drives their thinking and their logic. It's the same thing when I see like videos. I'm like, but do you guys understand you're kind of voting against your own interests, but you're voting just because it's one side and not the other?
A lot of the time. Yeah. And that's also what affects like the whole don't vote independent, because they're just going to lose anyway. If you vote for this guy, it's just a vote for that guy instead because you didn't vote for my guy. It's like, what kind of logic is this,
I think also that, though, there's a severe lack of understanding of civics anymore. Like, do we need to bring back Schoolhouse Rock to explain people how laws are passed?
I do need that.
Yeah.
Or just how like governments work, or how the electoral college works. Like,
there's going to be, as we roll out the beta and everything, there's actually going to be a lot of informational type things like that, because a lot of people don't know these things. They see one guy on X, say something about the electoral college, and then they just run with it forever, and then then saying it, and they start
or why they should get rid of it or something like
no,
that.
No, it works like this, and when it's like it completely does not work like that, So there's going to be a lot of like different informational sections on how, not just like, what I don't want to do is just have massive walls of text, because nobody's going to read it. So interactive, engaging, ways to like simply learn these things, like break these how everything operates down to nuts and bolts, and really teach people all of these things. I think that's a very important aspect, right next to respectful communication. Knowing how everything that you're even talking about works to begin with is a pretty important topic.
I think it is a fan base, and it's tied to people's identities. They are this side, and that's who they are, even if that side veers. But it's like, that's not tied to who you are. You can believe in something, or there's, a gradient, and you can be this identity. There's nothing wrong with being a middle Democrat. There's nothing wrong with being a conservative Democrat, or, conservative, it's just people tie themselves to this team, and they're like, well, we'll get them next year. Like
that's it. This is who I am forever.
There is no place. And these echo chambers are, they're not just online. They're in our community. People will be at work, and they'll click together, and then they'll just sit in a room, and they'll just talk shop all day.
I mean, I'm not going to talk to somebody from Wisconsin about Austin, Texas. They don't live here. But where do I talk about Austin, Texas? What, like the Austin subreddit? Then it's like just controlled by like powerful mods that, you know, like they have all this power, these mods and everything, and they're only going to let through what they believe. And it's just insane. So there is absolutely nowhere to talk about your local community, and especially to like build a voice for yourself and build like a reputation and who you are, put your ideas out there. And if, you know, you gain traction, people support you, like where do you do that right now? I don't think there is a place, you know. And I think it's super crazy because we are so polarized that nobody gives a shit about local politics. Even like governors, most people can't name who their governor is. There's no town hall anymore. You know, we have a world hall basically. We have like X and Facebook where nobody. Why would I talk locally to people in Nigeria? There's, you know, it doesn't make any sense. So there's nowhere to really make change. And you're not going to make change at the presidential federal level just because you're calling people an idiot on X. You're wasting your time, you know, but this polarization has got
Well, have you
so
tried
captivated.
DMing Trump on Truth Social?
Yeah,
I heard that work.
I could jump on there. Jump on Truth. I'm sure that's not partisan at all.
No, not at all.
I'm showing my ignorance, but like, how do these mods work? Who picks them? Who puts them in place? And how is it different now with your platform?
The same way that you would get any job, show interest and you know, we pick you as a person that if you've shown the interest in wanting to build a strong community, then, you know, you get hired to be a moderator. And they also have to essentially be aware and agree that they're going to be held to a very tight and high standard of our community ethos and what they do. I mean, it will be public. And so we just kind of hope that will incentivize them to just remain fair and bipartisan, you know, non-political essentially, and just look at the ethos and did it violate that? Yes or no? You know, the community terms of service. But they'll be, you know, picked based on interview process. Like, do you want this place to exist? And just finding the best people that are willing to do the job. So, you know, as I mentioned, it's an AI human hybrid. So they would review content that the AI flags, and then decide, we didn't get into it, but with the Transparency Infraction Board, there's an infraction tier system as well. And users can see, you know, if you get 5 full infractions, which different violations count as different levels of infraction, like a half a strike or whatever. And then users can see what do they have on their account basically, and they fall off after certain amounts of time. And so, yeah, the moderators are chosen essentially just through an interview process and showing interest, you know.
I know you spoke about your marketing strategy earlier, but
You can always get Kevin Hart. I think he sells anything.
Oh yeah, you'd blow up.
listen,
DraftKings.
Local politics is still dominated by elderly individuals. I've been to a whole bunch of neighborhood boards that it's just a lot of old people and they vote. So how do you think you're going to try to attract older members to try to join when a lot of them are mostly stuck on TV, mostly stuck on Facebook?
Right.
How do you think you're going to be able to migrate that interest to yours?
So this is, probably one of the most important questions because,
thank you.
Of course, everybody, regardless of age. I mean, I think we have our age limit set to 17 to use the app. That's the, because then they're getting ready to vote basically. But obviously older people are absolutely more than welcome to come and, have discourse on PoliTorium. But the most important I keep saying that about different things because they're all to me, they're all so important, but an extraordinarily important aspect of PoliTorium is teaching and encouraging younger people to become engaged in politics. And while that is going to take some time, without a doubt, but, helping them understand that politics is literally what controls and shapes your existence, and local politics is all the same. And those older people that you're saying that are in politics currently, that's who I call the gate guards. They're elected because they run unopposed, and then they're elected again because even if they have an opponent, they've just been in city council for so long that it's just who people vote for. You've seen their name for the last 20 years. Give them the vote,
They just become an institution.
Yeah, exactly. It is institutional politics, and it's exactly what I'm trying to encourage change with. So of course it will be encouraging like older people to take note and to, you know, really know what they're voting for and everything. But a big aspect of everything with the local is encouraging young people to find and use their voice, find what they believe and what they agree with, and, you know, and to vote. It's, you know, like there's all those like stickers and all those like govote.com, you know, but like, what does that do? You're not even telling
vote or die.
Yeah. Like you're not, it doesn't encourage young people. Like it doesn't tell them why. They're just like, oh, it doesn't, I'm one person. We need like that thought process of I'm one person, you know, like it's, again, it's very like un-American, anti-democracy, you know, and we've never put the focus on encouraging younger people. It's never been the case where that's who we try to go, you know, get to vote. Of course, like, you know, sides do like, you know, try to target the new voters and everything, but that's just to vote for a side. But we've never encouraged and taught them like they should be proud that they get to vote. A lot of people don't, you know. So this is something that I'm really, really trying to work with the local aspect of PoliTorium.
Where do I sign?
Tom, thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate you coming on, speaking to us. PoliTorium, available on, where's it available? Where can I get it?
So as of 2/25/2025, it will be available on the iOS App Store, and then about 3 days, and this is it's an open beta, so there's no, you know, sign up wait list thing to get the beta. It's just going to be publicly available on the App Store. And then a few days after that, it will be available on the Google Play Store, the Android store.
Nice.
Same beta. Obviously, it's cross-platform, everything, but both will be in beta. But we basically just want to get through the iOS approval, so we know exactly how to clone it for Android. We don't want to upload Android right now. Then they're like two different apps, you know. So we're doing one at a time, starting with iOS, and then Android will roll out. And then it'll be public forever. And we expect about a month. It will be an open beta, and then it'll be the 1.0 launch, full features, everything, you know.
Very nice.
Yep. And PoliTorium.com is our landing page where, you can kind of get all the information, see what it looks like, everything like that. So I really appreciate you guys having me on. This was a great conversation. I feel like talks like this really open up like ideas, you know, that is an important aspect. So yeah, this is great.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Tom, for coming on. Man. This was awesome.
Thank you guys. Hope to talk to you again.
I'll be signing up tomorrow, so you'll see me.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I expect to see you guys.
Kick 'em out.
The first one that violates all of infractions.
All right. We'll see you later.
All right. So, guys, final thoughts?
Don't ask me first because I got to think about it.
That leaves you, Chris. Final thoughts.
Yeah, so I think the idea of it, or the concept, what he's trying to present or to bring it to the public, is like, it is pretty cool. Like I've never seen anything like that. So hopefully, good luck to him, and hopefully it works. Hopefully that this will give a lot of people to have a safe place for them to talk politics. Yeah, I think it's a really good idea overall.
Rob?
Yeah, listen, there's a need for this, right? There is no safe space for people to talk about things and get a lot of information out. And, you know, the way Tom's doing it, he's doing it in a sustainable way. You know, he's not just thinking, he's running a business. So he's not just thinking about shareholders, he's thinking about his stakeholders. So, you know, he's creating this platform, he's dealing with all these other issues that it takes to run this business. But then he might have to come up with like a tiered approach or to generate revenue. But I like the approach, you know. Looking forward to it when it comes out, and I'll definitely be on there.
And Caesar.
I think this is a really cool tool that can be used, because one of the biggest things about politics is that normally no one really talks about policies. It's all emotions, is all identity, right? So how do we kind of move forward with just everything? So I think this is, you know, a really good place for level-headed people to try to like actually make positive change. Even if you don't really agree with someone else, at least you can talk policies, and ultimately at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. That's what's going to move the country forward. That's what's going to solve a lot of these problems that we're currently having, or any of the problems that we're going to have in the future. I think it's a good step forward. I think there's a need for this, especially now. And as the country becomes more and more divisive, I think his user base is going to just continue to grow.
Can I say something again?
Don't copy me, Chris.
No, I'm not.
It's final
Chris,
thoughts.
you said what you had to say.
No, but based on what you said, I think that being the safe place is like going to be the key, right? Because you saying stuff without getting shit on, and plus that you get to connect with people of your sense, like I said, like feelings and thoughts, your beliefs and stuff. But I think that's going to be the key point to this platform, where you can actually be yourself, I guess, and without getting shit on, pretty much.
Chris, I just said that. You just said that in Korean. You just repeated what I said in Korean.
I know, but that's why I know. But when he said that, I was like, yeah, you're right. That is.
Once again, we want to thank Thomas More for joining us, and please check out his app, PoliTorium, available now on iOS and soon to be on Android. We want to thank you for listening, but before I let you go, I want you to find that share button and send this to a friend and help spread the good word of the I'm Not Dumb But podcast. Also, check out our YouTube channel at I'm Not Dumb But podcast for more fun content. Until next time, stay curious.
Later.